Welcome to Nonprofit Profiles. I'm Genevieve. For local families struggling to make ends meet, sometimes just one setback, like an illness or an unexpected expense, can cause them to lose their housing. Upward Bound House is helping families get back on their feet with programs that address immediate needs and put them back on the path to self-sufficiency. Here to explain is the Upward Bound House Executive Director, Christine Marassi-Glasgow. Christine, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, I have to confess I have a special place in my heart for Upward Bound House because it's one of the member agencies of the Westside Food Bank, which is what I do when I'm not here doing Nonprofit Profiles.
That's great.
So can you tell me how you came to be with Upward Bound House and how long you've been with them?
I'm actually new. I am in my 10th month at Upward Bound House. So I joined them last summer. However, I've been working in the field of homelessness for many, many years. I started in the mid-90s.
Wow.
And I worked in the policy arena, so in government, but really dealing with homelessness. And then I moved on to the nonprofit side, and I've been doing that for the last 7 years or so.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me about Upward Bound House. What are the needs that you're addressing?
So Upward Bound House is a nonprofit organization that's local here in Santa Monica. We have programs in Santa Monica as well as in Culver City. We were founded in 1997. That's when we opened our doors for the first time. And we serve homeless families. Basically, as you may know, homelessness is a big problem today.
Sure.
Family homelessness, though, is somewhat hidden because you don't see homeless families in the streets. You know, they're not on the freeway ramps, they're not at the grocery store. So it's kind of a problem that's forgotten in some ways. But we have a lot of homeless families out there.
And these are families with children, often young children.
Absolutely. A typical homeless family that we serve is a mother, late 20s, early 30s, with 1 to 2 children. Usually high school educated, low income. About, area medium income is usually anywhere, average about $25,000 a year, which, as you know, is difficult to live off of in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I know that those poverty standards are nationwide, so
correct.
The kinds of services that you can access, you may need them even if you have a higher income level here.
That's absolutely true. And we see that. We see families who are really on the brink, at risk of losing their housing. Like you pointed out in the introduction, they're one incident away from being homeless.
Right.
And so getting services like the ones we offer are really critical in the community.
One thing I understand that's unique about Upward Bound House is that you're one of the few transitional housing programs that will also accept dads.
Absolutely.
So that families can stay together.
That's absolutely true. It's a big, big value about Upward Bound House, which is basically keeping families intact. Our philosophy is basically homelessness is traumatic enough in and of itself.
Sure.
And having to split up a family because you don't have facilities that can accommodate them is even more traumatic. I mean, that's when they need each other most, and to support each other.
Sure.
And to split them up because you can't have a mom and a dad just really causes even more trauma. So from the outset, the founders and the board of Upward Bound House made a very conscious decision that they wanted to serve families and give them really the best conditions while they were experiencing homelessness and staying at Upward Bound House.
And I know that there are a lot of children that live at the facilities. What are some of the programs that you have to keep the children entertained and excited and to help them through the difficult time?
Lots of things for kids, as you can imagine. We have tutoring classes, one-on-one tutoring. We have counseling, and we do that through their private counseling sessions, but they can also have them with their parents. We do creative activities, arts and crafts and things like that. We've got lots of volunteers who come out, celebrate birthdays. We do Easter, Halloween. Some of the pictures you actually saw in the intro as we roll along are pictures of those opportunities when we, for some of those kids, it's the first time, really.
Sure. And if they've been experiencing homelessness, I have to imagine there's a lot of trauma that goes along with that. So it sounds like you're really wrapping services around them to help them heal.
Correct. We really have a holistic approach to services, and so we make sure that in the summer we have them fully occupied. We partner with the Boys and Girls Club of Santa Monica, and we get very good competitive rates that allow our kids to go and have summer camp experience like all the other kids.
And how many families are you serving?
So last year we served 125 families.
Wow.
And of that, 57% of the folks in the families were children.
Wow.
So
more than half were children.
More than half were children. So it's a pretty daunting task.
And how long does a family typically stay in the residential transitional housing?
It varies, but typically I would say the average length of stay is about 5 to 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. So we really focus our services on rapidly putting them back in housing. So our focus really is to get them back on their feet and to do that quickly. So we focus on increasing their incomes. Some of them are employed, some of them are underemployed, some of them are unemployed. So we get a team of staff members who focus on making sure that we start digging into the employment histories. We do resume workshops. We do interview training. We partner with other organizations that do this for a living, like Chrysalis and PV Jobs and Weingart. And they allow us to really increase our outputs and we're able to help families get jobs and stay in those jobs.
That's amazing. It sounds like you're really pulling people out. And I know there's also a food pantry that we at the Westside Food Bank provide food for. But really, people don't have to pay rent. They don't have to pay utilities. They don't have to buy food. So it seems like you really can get people out in 5 or 6 months. It's amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole idea is really to get you out of a crisis mode and get you really thinking about your long-term goal, which is to get into permanent housing. So how do you do that? You do that by taking away all the day-to-day stresses of where am I going to sleep tonight? What are we going to eat? Are the kids going to school? And all of those things, and so that they can really focus on their long-term goal of getting back into housing.
Well, thank you so much. You're doing a fantastic job, and I'm excited to get to hear more about it from some of our other Upward Bound House guests. So thanks again for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Next, we will hear directly from a graduate of Upward Bound House. Stay with us.
Hey, Mom. Yes, I'm home. Saved you some dinner.
Plan now for a major earthquake. Contact the Santa Monica Office of Emergency Management. Don't be caught in the dark.
Welcome back. Here to give us first-hand information about the impact of Upward Bound House's program is Cristina Castañeda, one of its graduates. Cristina, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you being willing to come forward and talk about the impact that Upward Bound House had on your life.
Well, thank you. Thank you. No, without Upward Bound House, we wouldn't have survived the year that we were homeless with everything that they were able to provide to us.
So tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you become homeless?
In 2011, I had a job as a sales associate, and we were barely making it. And in April of 2011, I lost my job. I was laid off. That same week, my car was stolen. So it was a really rough week.
Oh, gosh.
And so one emergency you can kind of get by, or you think you could have a plan, but 2 emergencies right away, it pulled us under, and I couldn't keep my apartment anymore. Wow. So I spoke with my landlady. I worked it out and just told her I would leave. I took everything out of my apartment. All my furniture I had to leave out on the street and watch people tear through all my things. I couldn't take it with me. There was nothing I could do, and just left it all behind.
And where did you go?
First I went to the Department of Social Services. I also went to St. Joseph's on Venice and Rose. The Department of Social Services, I was able to get a hotel voucher through them first, and I was able to get some food stamps and some help. And we stayed in hotels for the first 4 months.
Wow, that's got to be difficult. How many kids do you have, and how old were they at the time?
My kids were, I have a boy and a girl, and my daughter was 11 and my son was 10 at the time.
Wow.
So they're old enough to take everything in and, feel the anxiety from it.
Sure.
And understand what's going on.
And I'm sure that's got to be hard for them to go to school and have to deal with kids that are just experiencing a normal life and they have this difficult situation going on.
It was hard, but we just kept on going forward, and I kept telling them better things will come, and we just took it a day at a time, really.
So how did you move from staying in hotels to finding out about Upward Bound House and getting into one of their apartments?
I had to go to several different agencies. I went through OPCC, and I went through St. Joseph's in Venice, and they were the ones who referred me to Upward Bound. And through the time I was in hotels, I had to pound the pavement and get a job, because I heard that you had to have income coming in to live in these transitional facilities or these shelters, that you couldn't just be doing nothing. You had to be actively trying to get yourself to be better. So by the third month, I had a job. And so I qualified for the programs, which was a total relief, because I knew it was one step forward.
So what was it like when you moved into the Upward Bound House? What's the facility like? What did it feel like?
We lived at both Culver City, and we lived in Santa Monica. And it was, after living in hotels where you're not eating right, you're not sleeping right, you don't have space, you don't have your things.
You don't have a kitchen?
No, have a kitchen, you can't cook. We learned that you can microwave things, like you can microwave eggs, and things you wouldn't normally want to do or eat regularly.
And you were all in one room in the hotel,
all
right?
in one room, even all in one bed at sometimes, and it was just, it's loud and people come and go, but it was a place to stay.
Sure.
So when we got to Upward Bound House, the person who decorated my room must have been very, very tidy, because I had so much soap. I had and that was a breath of fresh air, because in a hotel you don't have those things.
Right.
And I was finally able to make a space. I had warm blankets. I had nice lamp and alarm clock, like all these things that I had to give away and just leave. I had them again, and it finally felt like we had a space. And mentally, I just decompressed. The stress started coming down, and I was just more focused in my job. The kids were more focused in school. Everything just started,
well, you have privacy again.
That too.
I'm a mom. I know how important that is, to feel like you have a safe space to be with your kids.
Yeah, exactly. And then, we having a nicer bathroom, having your own parking space, not your own parking space, but a safe place to be, and knowing that it's not just a hotel where people are coming and going. There's a resident there's a person who lives there that's on call 24 hours, so you know that there's somebody there, and there's services there, there's caseworkers there.
So what were some of the ways that the people at Upward Bound House helped you to then move on to the next situation where you were actually living on your own?
Well, there's meltdowns that happen constantly, and outside of the regular duties that they do, like planning your budget and helping you find housing and the tutoring and the kids' nights. Just being there and listening to us, and knowing that we're going to get through it, especially because those meltdowns happen, and they happen to everyone. You just there's so many hurdles with finding housing, with with your work, and having to be homeless, and having to to kind of hide that from the community. It's at the time, it's really difficult, but that was one of the biggest things. Was I had really supportive caseworkers, and they were very good about finding ways to help each individual person, because every case is different, and it takes so long to become stable, and they understood that it was going to take 3 to 6 months. It was not going to happen overnight, and you had to stick to your plan. So that discipline and support was what really
And was it helpful to be around other families that were in a similar situation? Did you make any friends?
It is. I made a few friends. It's hard at first because people are really tense and about their situations, because everybody's situation is different. But once you go to kids' night and once you go to group sessions, you know, you kind of do these icebreakers, and people unwind and open up a little bit. And you know, the kids, they have such nice parties for the kids. We had a nice Valentine's Day party, a nice Christmas party, and that kind of, when you see all the kids happy in such a rough situation, it really, you know, helps people,
Well, and
relate
it's
to each
their
other.
natural state. You know, kids want to be happy, they want to be joking and playing, and that's what they should be doing. So it's so wonderful that Upward Bound House creates that safe space for the kids to be kids and not have to worry about the grown-up problems.
Exactly. And they have so many fun activities. They give them so much variety, and the kids really like it. And my kids being older, it's not just for little kids. It was more things that the older kids could do and benefit from.
And what are the apartments like?
They're beautiful on the inside. They're one-bedroom apartments, so there's 2 beds in either the living room or the bedroom, and there's dressers. There's a lot of storage space, so a lot of families have to put their stuff in storage, like their big furniture, but we didn't. We were able to put all our stuff like in that one room. The bathroom was really nice. It was always clean. It's in beautiful Santa Monica. It was very safe. And downstairs was the Hidden Treasures, where I got my outfits.
Oh.
Half my closet is from Hidden Treasures still, because I had to give away so much of our stuff. We couldn't take a lot with us. So.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, so it was really helpful.
I know there's a food pantry down there too, because
food pantry.
Westside Food Bank provides the food for that.
Yes, it was nice to go downstairs, and there, I mean, not just staples like rice and beans. There would be good cookies sometimes that I could indulge in that I wouldn't normally buy, and
Fresh fruits and vegetables.
Yes, fresh fruits and vegetables too, of course, and just things that there were always eggs and milk too that we could get. Just staples.
And I know having access to food, having your bills taken care of, that enabled you to get out. And how long did it take you to move from living with Upward Bound House into your own housing?
It was from mid-October till late April, so about 6 months.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was 90 days in one and 90 days in the other in Culver City, and then 90 days in Santa Monica. So, but yeah, I saved up really well, and I stuck to the plan, and
so the plan works.
It worked.
That's amazing.
It definitely worked.
And so I understand from hearing a little bit about your story that when you first moved out, you were taking advantage of a housing voucher that helped to subsidize some of the cost of your housing, but then eventually you were able to move to a place where you didn't need that anymore.
Yeah, the housing voucher for me, it just didn't work out too well because I had to commute too far, and I ended up taking more days off of work, and I ended up, because of my job and the income I was bringing in, it wasn't giving me that much assistance. So I just figured it was better to move into a smaller place, a little bit closer to my job, and just take my chances on my own because I could afford it. And I've been there.
Well, that's
and
the
I
goal.
haven't made a late rent yet. So, well, I haven't made a late rent period. So
that's great.
It's a really good feeling when I'm like, I'm on my own. I can handle this. I'm stable, and I'm not. I don't feel in danger like I'm a paycheck away. I feel much more stable now.
Well, you're a true success story. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
It is so amazing to see exactly how people's lives are being changed by wonderful local organizations like Upward Bound House. When we come back, the president of the board will be here to let us know how you can get involved.
I thought I had everything under control. Then, one day, something happened. I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't know there was help. Until someone told me.
Providing access to justice, the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles can help with domestic violence issues, eviction defense, government benefits, immigration, and other civil legal issues.
Welcome back to the show. I'm happy to introduce Upward Bound House's board president, Tom Wilson. Tom, thanks for being here.
I like being here. Thank you.
So how long have you been with Upward Bound House?
I'd say about 8 years.
8 years, okay.
8 years. I was involved a long time ago when it first was founded, but mostly on a daily basis on 8 years.
Mm-hmm. And what made you decide to get involved?
It wasn't my decision. They came to me. It was an interesting thing, though, because they were building the Culver City shelter at the time, or at least thinking about building the Culver City shelter. And they were showing me their plans and telling me what they were going to do, and just kind of wanted to get an opinion. And of course, my opinion is, you've never renovated a building before, have you? You don't know what you're doing. And I do that for a living, so I said, gee, I think you need some help.
So you had something to contribute.
Exactly. And what's interesting is it wasn't something I thought of contributing. I wouldn't have said I have a skill that a homeless shelter could use.
Right.
But it turns out they could. We renovated the building, got it up and going, and once you see the families in it, you stay.
Oh, I
And
bet.
you're there forever, so I'll be there for a long time.
And luckily you're there quite a bit longer than any of the families are there.
Yes, indeed. I appreciate that.
And tell me about the difference between the Culver City facility and the Santa Monica facility.
Yes. The Culver City facility is a short-term facility, generally around 90 days. And so it's a smaller unit, the spaces are smaller, but people come and go a lot quicker. So, and it's basically done by need. If you need a short-term stay, you would stay in Culver City. But you can also get in and out of there quicker. We can take families quicker where it takes a longer time to open up a space in Santa Monica. Santa Monica can be 6 to 9 months for a stay, and that's for families that just need more time.
And what determines what a family may need? How do you make that determination of who goes where?
They leave that up to the people who know how to do that.
Okay.
And so our counseling staff on there is terrific at that. So they will meet with the families, interview them, and assess their needs, and then put them in the proper place.
And so like Christina, often a family might start at Culver City, and then if they need more longer-term assistance, move on to Santa Monica?
Yes, and I don't know all the details of Christina's, but I would say it probably was, we had a space now in Culver City where there may not have been an opening for her in Santa Monica, but she would be in Culver City until there was such an opening, and then we can relocate her up there. And when you get up there, you have a kitchen and a bigger space and a bedroom, and the Culver City was a former motel, so you're in a motel room, but it's a lot nicer.
Oh yeah, I've seen the apartments, and they're really quite charming.
Yes.
I mean, for a limited amount of space, they make it feel very homey.
That's the goal. The goal is to make people feel at home, make the kids feel happy and wanted in a safe place.
Yeah.
And basically that also encourages people not to go back to homelessness.
Right.
They get back and realize this is a great thing, and this is where we want to be forever. So they fight
So
hard.
how can other people get involved? How can someone become a volunteer like yourself?
There's a lot of ways you can do that. My favorite is the Adopt an Apartment program.
Oh.
And Christina alluded to this, but when the families leave an apartment, they get to take everything that's not bolted down with them to get their new apartment going. So when a new family comes in, we need towels, we need sheets, we need soap, we need shampoo. So we have a program where you can come in and adopt the apartment and actually set it up. It's usually done by schools, families, businesses, and the whole group comes in and actually does it. So they go out and buy the...
So they actually get to shop and pick out towels and pick out dishes.
And we'll tell you what kind, it is fun. That's why we do it as a group. But it's we tell you what kind of family's coming in. You know, 2 little girls and an older boy and a mom. And generally we tell you, here's what you need. Again, the basics. But on top of that, everybody ends up buying pajamas and backpacks for school and books and games and just things to make it a wonderful place to be and make you feel happy and secure again. That's my personal favorite. Obviously, we always need food. We need clothing, especially interview type clothes.
So professional wear.
Professional looking attire. That's right. Most people have gone through what they've got, and so they need that kind of thing. They need clothing that's for say kitchen help and work, and shoes, and the proper attire for working in restaurants is very specific attire that they generally have to buy themselves.
So often people who are graduating from the program might be moving into a restaurant type of job?
That's a very common job for the people in our program.
What are some of the other common jobs that people might get? I mean, I'm sure everyone's different.
Everyone's different. They really, and most of the people come in with a job, and we try to keep them there or try to move them up within that company, because stability is the most important thing for these families. So we don't have a specific recipe for everyone. Everybody, we work it out with the counselors, and we come up with what's best for them and what's most likely to keep them out of homelessness.
Right.
That's the most important thing.
And I would have to imagine, I mean, nobody wants to be homeless, nobody wants to go back to being homeless, and it sounds like what Outward Bound House is providing is just that hand up, that way to get through the tough transitional period.
I think we all have an opinion of what homelessness is, and when you go in to meet these people, it's not that at all.
Sure.
It's the great people who are doing the right things, but something fell off the rails at some point.
Right.
And that's really what they need, is an opportunity to reboot the life and get back on the track that they were before they got into this problem.
And I think that there's a misconception that there isn't homelessness in our community, in Western LA County. And I think, you know, Christina alluded to some of the hidden homelessness. And I know that there are sometimes families who are living, maybe 2 or 3 families in one home, families that are living maybe in cars or with friends or couch hopping. Can you speak a little bit about the level of homelessness? How big of a problem is it in this community specifically?
There are 7,000 children living on the streets any night in Los Angeles.
Wow.
It is a huge problem.
Children.
That's
just
the children.
the children.
That's not including their families.
Wow.
And that's the real beauty of Upward Bound, though, is keeping that family together. Most shelters require you to split them up and have there's a male shelter and a female shelter, and the kids go off to social services, which is the real crime, in my opinion, because the family needs to stay together.
So traumatic. Kids
need that. They need to stay in their schools with their friends, or else they're going to spiral down into the same problem the rest of the family is having. So the reason why you don't know about homeless families is because they don't want to get sucked into that system, so they hide.
Right.
They are hiding from the other homeless population, which can be a scary place to be.
Sure.
But also, they don't want their family broken up. So they don't want to make a scene. And also, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
They don't want to tell people. And there are a lot of these people are in our schools. They're hanging out with your kids, and you just don't know because nobody's going to say anything about it. But by bringing them into a place where they can be safe and have dignity, get back on their feet again, is a terrific thing.
Well, I think you're doing something just so necessary and so wonderful, and I can't thank you enough for your service and for coming here to tell us about it.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Well, I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you for being with us. To learn more about Upward Bound House, please call 310-458-7779 or visit upwardboundhouse.org. We'll see you next time on Nonprofit Profiles.